Hey y'all, it's Bethany here. Welcome back to my channel, Bethany Brings Books. Today I'm going to be filming one of my favorite tags of the year. I love this tag. I think it's just a fun look at where you're at in the year so far with your reading. So I love watching these videos. I love filming mine. I've loved filming mine over the past couple years. Anyway, I just love this tag so much, and it is the mid-year book freakout tag. I think's what it's called, mid-year book freakout tag. I think. So the angle for this video is a little bit off. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to be like right there in front of the plant, but I had to leave my phone charging. So yeah, so the thing it's a little bit over. The angle's a little bit off, but anyway, we're gonna go ahead and do this tag. So first of all, I actually do just want to briefly go over my reading goals, and let's just see where we're at with that. So I'll show y'all the page. I'm not great at artsy stuff when it comes to my reading journal. Half the time I'm in such a rush that I am sloppy when I write this stuff, or I can't get together what I want in my head, but I will show y'all the page. It's not great, but my 2024 reading goals, that's the page that I did. And my first goal was to read my Bible every day. This is one that I'm definitely still working on. For those of you that follow me on Instagram, I made a goal. I think it was around the 1st of February. I began posting when I read my Bible every day, like posting it online to kind of keep myself accountable. And I began posting it on Instagram into my stories, and then I created a highlight reel. I mean, not a highlight reel. I created a highlights folder. I don't know what you call it, but anyway, there's a link to my highlights on my story or on my page with all of those stories from my Bible reading this year so far. And I would say there's a couple of days that I did not post on there, a few days. So I went through, counted all the stories, and then I added about 10 days to that because I know there's some days that I did not post when I read my Bible. And so it's not quite half of the days of the year so far that I've read. So there's like, so far we've had, I think, around 180 days this year, and I think I've read around probably 75 to 80 of those. So almost half. So I definitely want to work on that. It's a goal of mine to read my Bible every day in the mornings. I struggle. In the mornings, I am not a person that hops up and wakes up right away. I really struggle in the morning. Like, I get up and I have to, I guess I could probably maybe try to train myself out of this. I don't know, but I'll usually get up and then come sit on the couch a while, and I like have to wake up. And so sometimes if I try to read my Bible right away, sometimes I'm like really cannot mentally focus on it. Other mornings I'm more clear-headed. Anyway, that's something that I'm trying to work on. Almost finished with, as far as where I'm reading, I'm almost finished with Isaiah. I did start reading, I think I started about halfway through Psalm, finished them, and then I started over. Earlier this year I read Acts, and once I finish Isaiah, I'm going to start Luke, I believe. But I think I'm going to do Luke and then keep going through the Psalms as well, because I found as I was reading the Psalms, it really helped remind me regularly to praise the Lord, to testify of what God's done for me. And it was just a reminder throughout the Psalms to tell others about the goodness of the Lord and what he's done, and to share parts of my story and how he has really transformed my life and what he's done for me over the past few years with the loss of my husband, when he passed away from suicide in 2020, and everything I went through dealing with that. And the Psalms just continually have reminded me this year to testify about that, tell people about it, testify about the works of the Lord and the things that he's done. And so I was like, I really want to stay in Psalms and just keep reminding myself of that over and over again. So that's my goal. Once I finish Isaiah, to start Luke, and then Also, just continue reading through the Psalms every day. That was my first goal. So, anyway, moving on to the next goal, read 20 classics. I counted up and actually done pretty good with this. I've read 12 classics so far, and I'm currently reading Frankenstein, which will be 13. And then number 14 will be Sense and Sensibility, which I'm about to start reading this weekend. So I feel like I'm doing pretty good with that. Bring something happening where I can't read any more classics this year, then I feel like I'm very much on track to read 20 plus, which is very exciting. I've done really well with that this year, and I'm kind of proud of myself, y'all. I've really leaned into that this year, and so I've read a lot of classics. A couple of those are Agatha Christie's, and then a couple of them are children's classics like Little House series, but I'm really excited at the end of the year. I'm going to be so excited to do a classics video. I can do a whole classics video talking about all the classics I read. I'm so excited to do that. Read 2 parenting books. I have not done this at all. I've not done well. I have a book that's out over here on my shelf. I keep a stack of books that I want to like read soon over here. I have one that I've been slowly reading, but I have not picked it up in a while, and it's answers to your kids' questions, and it's kind of like questions about the Bible and creation and is God real, that type of thing, and answers. And I've really enjoyed that. I just have not picked it up in a while. So technically that is one that I'm working on, and I have another one that I'm hoping to pick up soon, but this is an area that I definitely need to work on during the second half of the year, because I have a lot of parenting books and parenting books, and I really need to work on them, reading them. Read 1 Shakespeare. Have not done this yet, but I have been putting this off towards the fall. I think I want to try Shakespeare in the fall, so probably September or October maybe. Maybe even the winter, I'm not sure, but yeah, that's definitely the plan, is to read 1 later on this year. Number 5, read 4 Christian nonfiction. This is another one that I really need to work on. I have not read a lot of nonfiction so far this year. I have read a nonfiction book on grieving, and that one was Christian based, so technically that one kind of counts. It's a book about grieving the loss of your spouse. Then I'm also currently reading a book about intercessory prayer by Andrew Murray. I'm almost finished with that, so that'll be 2. And then there's a couple more that I'm really hoping to get to towards the second half of the year, and it's really just about me prioritizing them over other books. Sometimes when I read like in the evenings at the end of the day, I feel like I'm not really in the headspace to read something heavier, just because at that point I'm like so tired and I don't really have the mental focus to focus on something like that. But I definitely want to prioritize reading more of those towards the second half of the year. This goal, number 6, I really don't know why I even made this goal. I feel like I was just trying to come up with goals and I threw this one on there. And it was read 12 Nancy Drew books. I have not read a single Nancy Drew book that I can recall. They're usually really easy reads, so I think I'm wanting to reread the whole series, because I've read a ton of them when I was young, but I never read the series all the way through, and I have a ton of them on my shelves. So I really want to reread them all, and I think that was part of my goal. They're easy reads, so I thought I could just quickly read 1 a month and work through that goal. Haven't done it at all. So I don't know. I don't even know if that's a goal I'm going to keep, one that I'm really too concerned about. So we'll see. And then number 7, 24 books in 2024. So my list of books that my kids picked, I've read 6 so far, which is not too great. I mean, I'm glad I've read at least 6, but I still have quite a few more to read. I have picked up 2 or 3 more. I have a handful that I've started and just haven't finished. I need to keep working my way through those. Yeah, I don't really think it's a goal that I'm going to meet. I'm probably not going to read all 24, but I'm thinking what I'll do is just carry over the ones. I haven't decided for sure, but I'm thinking I may just carry over the ones that I don't read to next year, and then let my kids just add to the stack again. that's my goals, and that's where I'm at with them. And now let's dive into the tag. So, number one, this is first question for the mid-year freakout tag, book freakout tag. The best book you've read this year. I've read a lot of good books this year. I really have had a fabulous reading year so far. And this one was a little bit hard for me. But I have to say the book that I read that I just haven't been able to get off my mind is The Blooms That Broke Us by Ashley Deal. This book to me was just absolutely phenomenal, and I have actually had it out to pick up again because I really just want to go ahead and reread it. It was just a phenomenal book, phenomenal. So it's a clean fiction, and it follows Jack Barkley and Miranda Howard. They have divorced recently, I think within the past couple of years, the past 4 years. Yeah, kind of hard to talk about without spoiling it. But anyway, they divorced. There's a whole backstory of issues, things that affected their marriage, and a lot of it deals with miscarriages and pregnancy loss, and all of that had a heavy impact on their marriage, and so they divorced, and they are brought back into each other's lives by the passing of Jack's father and his will, and there's like a whole deal with that brings them back into each other's lives, and it's really just a beautiful, beautiful story of their reconciliation. It's marriage of convenience, marriage reconciliation, healing, forgiveness. Like, literally, even talking about it makes me want to cry because it had some absolutely beautiful aspects of forgiveness toward the end of the story, and it just came at a time when I needed it. When I read it, I needed it, and it helped me so much. There's lines from this book that I still say to myself times when I have to work on forgiveness myself, and there's maybe someone that, a situation that frustrates me. There's lines in this book that I say to myself, and I remind myself of what Richard, one of the sweet older people in this book, what he talked about forgiveness, some of his lines about forgiveness and forgiving people. This book, it's one of my favorite books of all time. Like, it's just an absolutely phenomenal book. I think Ashley took so many aspects of a story that I love and wrote them into like this perfect story. And it does have a little bit of content. It's clean, but it does have a little bit of content, some very mild language. So I did review this earlier this year, so if you want to know more about it, you can watch that review. But yeah, my favorite book of the year for sure. Number two, the best sequel you've read so far. And so this kind of confuses me. Like, is a sequel when a book is just a duology? Is that a sequel? Or if you have a series, is the second one considered a sequel? So, like, I don't know. That makes sense, guys. I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that. But I chose Positively Penelope. This is the second in a series of 3 books. So this is what I chose. We're going to make it work, even if it doesn't. We're going to make it. Yeah, I thought that this was just a really good sequel, a really good second book in the series. I read this earlier this year, and it was a load of fun. I still think Izzy is my favorite book in the series. I like all the references in Izzy to books and reading and bookish things, and so I think Izzy is just a girl after my own heart, and so that's why I love that one so much. But this one was, in its own right, just as phenomenal. Like, both of them are, I think, top tier, funny, sweet romance, fabulous, and just my personal preference is the first one, but this one was amazing as well. And number 3, new releases that you still are hoping to read this year, and I haven't many of those, but the 2 I'm going to mention are Rocky Road by Becky Wade. This one is one I am really wanting to read soon. I am really looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to it ever since I finished the first book in the series. So I'm really looking forward to this one, and hopefully I will get to this one soon. And then Love in Tandem by Becca Kinzer. I have been eagerly awaiting this book when it came out, and I just have not picked it up. Y'all, like, as soon as I finished Dear Henry, Love Edith last year, I was like obsessed with reading the next thing she wrote. So this one is one that I'm dying to get to. And her next book that's coming out next year, I don't remember the name, but she released the cover on Instagram blurb. It sounds amazing. Amazing. Like, so good. I can't wait to read it. It involves like a baseball star, and I think it's a marriage reconciliation, maybe, or something like that. I can't remember. I have to look back. I don't remember, but it just sounded amazing, and I'm so excited about that one coming out next year. Number 4, most anticipated reads for books for the second half of the year, and so I'm going to put pictures up here. Burning of Rosemont Abbey, I think is the name of it, by Naomi Stevens. I believe this is a debut novel, but it sounds so fascinating. It's a mystery, and it's been compared to like Agatha Christie vibes, like having those vibes. I believe it's set like in the 1950s or 40s, sometime during that time period. It looks, the cover is so pretty. And this one, I have, ever since I saw it, like her first heard about it, I've been really eager to get my hands on it. So I'm really excited about that one. And then the other one is Hope Like Wildflowers by Pepper Basham. This book follows a character from her, I don't even know what the series is called, but it's her Mountain series. I read the first 2 last year, and I know her readers have been eagerly waiting for her to write a 3rd book about this side character in those stories. I have been waiting. I do not remember the character's name, but when I read about her in these other books, in the 1st and 2nd book, I was like, okay, in Laurel's Dream and Heart of the Mountains, she's a side character, and she's not in the book, but she's talked about. She had run away from home, and I've just been, I was like, I've got to read her story. So I'm really excited to read this. It comes out later this year, in the fall, I believe, and I'm really looking forward to it. Number 5, the biggest book that surprised, or the book that was the biggest surprise to you. I'm going to say The Scarlet Pen by Jennifer Ulrich. I went into this, and I hate to say this because it sounds bad, and I don't mean it that way, but I didn't really have super high expectations. I guess just because this series it's different authors, and they're not super thick. They're kind of smaller, and I just wasn't sure like how gripping the story could be, how detailed, I guess. And I had already read another book in the series by a different author that I thought was okay. It didn't just grab my attention like this one did. But this one actually I found to be really well written. I really enjoyed the author's writing style. I enjoyed the story itself, and it was a little bit gruesome because it does follow a serial killer. It's Christian fiction, so it's clean. It just does have some of those details in it, but it really caught me off guard because I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected to. Just when I say enjoyed it, I particularly meaning the author's writing style and just the way she pulled the whole story together, and kept me intrigued throughout the book. So that was a big surprise for me. My new favorite author, Ashley Deal, of course. Ashley Deal. Can't wait to read. I still want to read the first book in the Blooms series that I showed earlier. There is a book prior to that. You don't really have to read them in order, I don't think. I'm still really want to read it. I just haven't yet. And I'm really eagerly looking forward to her next release, which is going to be the 3rd book in this series. She's going to be an auto-buy author for me. When I can afford her books, she's going to be an auto-buy author. And then the second one is Rachel Scott McDaniel. This book was tied for my favorite book of the year. This one, and I have to say Pride and Prejudice. Both of those were all tied. This one is another absolutely phenomenal book. Loved it so much. Like, just absolutely loved it. Cannot wait to read more by Rachel Scott McDaniel. She is 100% a new favorite author. This book was just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. and I'm really looking forward to reading more by her. Number 7, newest fictional crush. This is not something that I really typically like to answer. I usually just say a favorite character or something. I think I will say, though, as I have recently read Pride and Prejudice, I think I can speak for many women and say that Mr. Darcy is pretty much a perfect fictional character, a perfect fictional male. Now, when I say perfect, he's not a perfect man. He has his flaws. He has his character growth throughout the story. He has that epic proposal where he starts off so passionate and then it burns and crashes, and we just see, I think Mr. Darcy, we see his flaws, but then we see character growth, and we see how he genuinely loves Elizabeth, and he will put her interest before his own. Ultimately, he'll work whatever he can for her good, even if it doesn't mean that even if he doesn't ever get to spend his life with her, he's still willing to put her first. And so I think Mr. Darcy is just pretty much one of the best male characters that has been written. Male fictional characters. He is an interesting man. So there's that. Do with that what you please. Number 8, a book that made you cry. Blooms That Broke Us definitely made me cry. I bawled, sobbed. That book absolutely made me cry, 100%. And then Little Women made me cry as well. Little Women is just, it has some scenes in it with Beth. It's just, it tugged at my heart and it made me cry. I was like, oh my goodness, and I probably have cried in more of these books, but those are the 2 that I really remember. Number 9, the worst book I've read this year. And I would say, I believe last year this question was the biggest disappointment or something like that. So, because I haven't really read any horrible books. The one that probably, I don't want to say it's the worst. It was just a disappointment. And that was Hercule Poirot's Christmas. This carried over from last year, actually. I finished it in January. It just didn't really live up to my expectations. It was kind of boring, and it didn't have the Christmas vibes that I was going for. So yeah, that one was a bit of a disappointment. Number 10, the most beautiful book I have acquired. I'm not really going to go into this a lot. I just talked about this on a recent video about my Jane Austen books, but this book I bought earlier this year, Emma. It's such a gorgeous edition. It's illustrated, and then it also has interactive elements to it, like a map of Highbury. It's got letters in it, recipes, newspaper, stuff like that. It's interactive, so it is a gorgeous book. Very beautiful. At number 11, books that I still want to read in 2024. I think that's what the question is. I didn't write down these questions entirely, so they'll be in the description box. Definitely my Shakespeare book. That's still on my TBR. I would like to read more Agatha Christie because I'm trying to work my way through her books, and it's going to take me 50 years at the rate I'm going. So I want to read more Agatha Christie and just work on some of my other goals, like my Christian nonfiction parenting books, things like that. Those are some of the books on my list that I still really want to work on. And then also, I'm also really wanting to read this second book up here in the second book about Elizabeth Elliot. It's I believe called Being Elizabeth Elliot. So that's another one that I'm definitely wanting to read towards the end of this year. So there you go, guys. Thank y'all for watching this video. I had a lot of fun doing this. Like I said, this is one of my favorite tags, so I'm loving watching everyone's videos and just seeing how your reading year has gone so far. So let me know in the comments, what is your favorite book that you've read this year? I would love to know what it is. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. Bye.